Hello and welcome to a new Oxygen XML webinar. My name is George Bina and I'm hosting today's webinar. I invited my colleague Stephen Higgs to show you some of the new DITA-related additions in Oxygen version 19. Stephen presented a webinar in March on which we received a lot of positive feedback. In case you want to look over that, it's called the Technical Writer's Perspective on Using DITA, and its recording is available on our events page on the website. Before I will invite Stephen to start the actual presentation, we have some useful information for you. The most frequently asked question about webinars is whether the webinar will be recorded or not. And the answer is yes, the webinar will be recorded and the recording will be made available on the event page on our website, as well as on the Oxygen XML YouTube channel, where you can find a lot of recorded webinars, recorded sessions at different conferences we attend, and also other video demonstrations. We have a dedicated section at the end of the webinar for questions and answers, but you can ask questions at any time during the webinar using the questions panel in the GoToWebinar interface. You can also use Twitter and mark your questions with the Oxygen XML hashtag or direct them to the Oxygen XML account. And me and my colleague Bogdan are available to answer those questions as Stephen presents, and we will come back to them also at the end. So please ask questions as we go, because otherwise maybe you will forget them when we reach that specific section where we take questions and answer them. So without further ado, I will make Stephen presenter so he can start his session. Hi, Stephen.
Hello.
You are the presenter now.
Okay, thank you, George. So in this webinar, we're going to show you some of the new DITA-related features that were introduced in Oxygen version 19. You may have read about these features in our list of what's new, or you may have seen glimpses of some of them in a video. Some of you may already be using them if you have already upgraded to version 19. Regardless, the main purpose of this particular webinar is to show you these new features in more depth using actual real-world use cases. In fact, some of these features I'm about to show you were added to the list because actual Oxygen users requested that we show them. By the way, a quick note about the pronunciation of DITA or DITA. Basically, in North America, most people pronounce it DITA. However, in Europe, most people pronounce it DITA, and that's because most European languages pronounce the letter I with an E sound. Based upon my accent, you might have guessed that I am from North America. However, I had never heard of the acronym until I moved to Europe, where I always heard it as DITA, so I guess that became a habit. In reality, it is an acronym, so technically I guess I should be saying DITA, but who wants to do that? Anyway, I just wanted to clarify this in case you're wondering why I pronounce it one way or another. So the first new feature I want to show you is the Fast Create Topics feature. It's a configuration dialog box that allows you to quickly create multiple skeleton topics at once, and you can specify what their structure will look like in the DITA map. To demonstrate this, I'll use an example of something that I actually did within the last few months. Recently, we introduced a beta version of a new product called Oxygen Content Fusion, and I needed to create a user's manual for it. At some point when I started planning for the new manual, I created a draft of the basic structure, and it looked something like this. Now I knew that I would end up adding more topics, and maybe the structure would change, or some of these would end up with different titles, but this was a good starting point, and I knew that in the very least I would need new topics for everything listed in my plan. So rather than creating new topics one at a time, I used the Fast Create Topics feature to create all of them at once, along with my DITA map structure. So this is what the DITA map ended up looking like. But to show you this new feature, I'm just going to use a sample blank DITA map. So the feature is in the contextual menu, so you can just right-click the node where you want to insert the new topic structure and select Fast Create Topics. It opens this dialog box where you can specify the structure, titles, and some options. Now the first time you use this feature, it has an example hierarchy listed so you can see how to specify the structure. After that first time, it'll remember what you entered the last time you used it. Now, of course, I can just start typing my structure one line at a time, one line for each topic, and I can use space or tab for specifying the structure. But because I already had all of my titles and structure written in a word processing application, I can just copy it from there, paste it in this dialog box, which is much easier, obviously. So let's go over some of the other options. If you click this file name generation rules link, it takes you to this options page, and it's this section here that it's referring to. So when it generates the file name, you can specify, for example, that you want to replace spaces with a hyphen instead of an underscore, or that whether or not they should be lowercase only, or whether or not to use camel case. This next option, use the file name as the value of the root ID attribute. I always select this option because I always want my topic root ID to be the same as the file name. If you don't select it, Oxygen will generate a random ID. Next, I select my topic type. I'll just select topic. Again, it will remember your last choice the next time you use this. Now, we've already had some users ask us how you can specify multiple topic types. For example, what if some of these should be a topic while others a task or troubleshooting or whatever? Well, the simple answer is that you can't at the moment, but I can tell you that this is an improvement that our developers are working on for future versions. And I will show you how to quickly convert them in a few minutes anyway, so it will still save a lot of time even if you do have multiple types in your structure. The last option specifies where to insert your new topic structure in relation to the node you selected. In my case, since it was an empty map, there's only one possible option, so it's grayed out. If I would have inserted it into an existing other type of node, then you see I could insert the topic structure as a child or sibling. But I'll click Create, and you see that my structure was created in the DITA Maps Manager. Specifically, a topic reference was created in the DITA map for each entry with the structure I specified. Each topic was created with a very basic skeleton structure with the titles I specified. And a file was created for each one. Oh, well, probably I have to save it first. Anyway, now remember I told you that I would show you how to quickly convert them to a different topic type, and this leads us to our next new feature. Suppose that I want some of those topics that I just created to be tasks. Well, starting with version 19, there's a very simple and quick way to convert between various topic types. If you use the Fast Create Topics feature like I just did, and you already know that some of them need to be a different type, this is the best time to convert them while they're still in a very basic skeleton structure, and you'll see why in a few minutes. So the conversion is done via some new refactoring actions. And there are several ways to access them, and the method that you choose basically will come down to whether you want to create or convert a single document or multiple documents at once. Suppose that these two documents should have been a task. So I can select them, right-click, go to refactoring, and you'll see I have these convert actions. In this case, I'll choose convert to task. This opens a dialog box where you have some options to choose the scope for the operation and some filters. I'm just going to leave it on the default, which is the selected DITA map references. Notice there's a preview button. It's always a good idea to click this button before finish, just to make sure that it's not doing something unexpected. And you notice that it's changing the topic to a task, the body to a task body, etc. So I'll click finish, and you notice that they've now been converted to tasks. If I open it here, you see that it's now a task. Now, since these were very basic skeleton topics, the conversion was very simple, and there's nothing to adjust. This is why I said that this was the best time to convert topics that were created with the Fast Create Topics feature. Now, if you're converting a document with a more complex structure, you may need to make some manual adjustments after the conversion, because in some cases the mechanism has no way of determining how to map certain elements. Suppose that I want to convert this topic to a task. It already has content with its structure designed according to the topic type markup. Since a task type is more restrictive, I suspect that the conversion is going to have a more difficult time mapping the elements. Okay, so for this one, I'm going to show you the other method. Since I just want to convert a single document, I can just right-click anywhere in the editing pane, go to refactoring. Again, my convert actions are here. I'm going to choose convert to task. Again, I have a preview panel. Note that in this case it skipped the dialog box that allowed you to choose a scope, and that's because since it was a single document, the scope will always be that current file. So I preview it, finish it. So it mapped as much of the structure as it could, but you can see that I now have some errors. So since it's a task, I think the first element needs to be something like a context. And these steps need to be on the same level as the context. And I think this content in the note needs to be in an info, and so on. The point is that when you convert to a more restrictive type like I just did, you may have to make some manual adjustments afterwards. But you can still see that this is a whole lot faster than creating a new task, then moving the content one element at a time. So our next feature, automatically update references to moved or renamed resources. So the DITA Maps Manager allows you to rename DITA resources. And notice that it gives you an option to update references. Same thing if you want to move a DITA resource, such as a topic, map, whatever. Again, you have that option to update the references. However, you don't have this option for non-DITA resources, such as folders, images, text files, etc. Of course, those type of resources don't even appear in the DITA Maps Manager. And also, you can only move one DITA resource at a time. You don't even have that option to move multiple DITA resources at once. But in the project view, you have the option to move multiple DITA resources. You can obviously rename, move non-DITA resources here, but the problem in the project view is that you don't have the option to automatically update the references. So to demonstrate this, I'll use some very simple examples. Suppose I want to rename my maps folder. Now I can do that without this new feature enabled. Let me back up and tell you what it is that I'm going to show you. Starting with version 19, you can now use what's called master file support in your DITA project. And when you move or rename resources in the project view instead of the DITA Maps Manager, you now have access to that option to automatically update the references. So without enabling master file support, I can, of course, rename my folder. It does it just fine, but if I go to my DITA map, you see that all the references are still pointing to the old folder, to maps, and I would have to manually update all of those references. Let me close this and revert what I just did. So now I'll show you how to enable master file support, and we'll try that again. There's actually several ways to do this, but I'll show you the easiest method. Notice that at the bottom of the project view, you have this message that says master file support is disabled, and you have an enable button. If I click that button, I now have the option to either enable or detect and enable. The detect and enable option will not only enable it, but also search your project and try to identify your main route map. I'm not going to choose that option because it'll take a few minutes since my project is so large. So I'll enable it. Notice that there's now a master files logical folder here. And now I'll manually add my route map. The easiest way to do this is to simply drag it to that logical folder. And now my main route map is defined as the master file. And so now let's try renaming that again. So you notice that now I do have that option to update the references. And the scope is master files, and since my route map is defined as the master file, it's really going to update them in the scope of my route map. As I said, you can you can use this when renaming or moving resources in the project view. And as long as the master file support is enabled and your route map is defined as the master file, you'll have that option to automatically update the references in the scope of the route map. And you can use the same method for moving multiple DITA resources. So for example, I can select these, move them to a different folder, and you see I have that option here. Let me click preview and you can see what it's actually going to do. See, and you notice that it's updating all of the references for you. I don't really want to do this, so I'll click cancel. But you can see how this will save you a lot of time when reorganizing your project, since you now have that option to automatically update references by renaming or moving resources in the project view. Okay, next new feature, the DITA Reusable Components view. First off, I should note that this view is not visible by default, so you have to go to Window, Show View, and DITA Reusable Components view. Okay, so this Reusable Components view collects all the keys that are defined in the route map and presents them here in this view. It's especially helpful if you use a large amount of keys in your DITA projects like we do. Let me show you. So we have a large variety of keys. For example, we have variables defined for products and versions. All of our reusable components are defined as keys so that we can reference them using conkeyrefs. We have some external references defined as keys because these other companies sometimes change their URLs. We have a test that detects this, and then all we have to do is change the key. And we also have all of our glossary terms defined as keys, and this makes it very easy to add links to them. So let's get you familiar with the view. So all of our defined keys are presented here, and you can click a column to sort it by that column. Note that all the keys that are defined with a value, such as our variables, have that value shown in the description column, while all of the keys that are defined with an href pointing to their target, you see the href value in this href column. And then this last column shows you the file where the key is defined. And there's a search filter, fields, some contextual menu actions. It supports drag and drop, and double clicking a key is the fastest way to insert a key reference. So let me show you some use cases. I told you that our glossary terms are defined as keys, and here's an example. I know that perspective is one of our glossary terms, so I can select it. And then because I've defined all of our glossary terms, I've defined the names of the keys to start with gloss entry, I can just start typing that. And you see that the view is filtered at with only our glossary terms. And I can just find my glossary term and double click it. And you see that it inserted a link to the key ref, which in this case is just a glossary term topic. I could also achieve the same thing by right-clicking and choosing Insert as Link. Also, I always wrap our glossary terms in a term element. If this wasn't already done, I could select the word and select Insert as Key Ref, and then find that element. And you see that I achieved the same result without having to insert the term element beforehand. Now, here's an example of a variable. We have our product key defined with multiple values depending on the condition set chosen. So, for example, here's our condition sets. Here's our various products. And we need this key to be expanded differently for each of the user manuals. So for the editor user manual, it's expanded as Oxygen XML editor. For author, it's expanded as Oxygen XML author. Well, the other nice thing is anytime I need to use our product in the documentation, I just simply need to insert the key. And we have it defined as a code template, so I can simply select it from the Content Completion Assistant. But I can also achieve the same thing by using the DITA Reusable Components view. I can double-click product, it inserts it the same. I could also drag and drop it, or I could select Insert as Variable. All of them do the same thing. Also, if I needed to change the key, I can choose Show Definition. It opens the file where the key is defined, and I could change it. Note that this is another example of a feature that has more improvements and functionality being added for upcoming versions. Now, the next few features that I'll show you will be very quick. Checking for external references. To do this, I don't need this anymore, so I'll run a DITA map validation. And in the DITA map completeness check dialog box, there's a new option. It's called Report References to Resources Outside of the DITA map folder. And I'll run a check with just this option selected so that it'll be fast. And I'll show you what I did. I actually moved one of our reusable components outside of the main folder. See, it should be inside this DITA folder. These are errors from our validation from those conversions. One of our schematron rules says that we shouldn't have empty elements. But here's the warning. It says reference to resource outside of the main DITA map folder may produce potential publishing problems. So it's just another useful option to help you prevent problems. This next feature is for those of you who use text mode. It's just some added functionality that was requested. And basically, when you're inserting key refs or key references in text mode, the ID values are now presented in the Content Completion Assistant, so it makes it easier to find and insert specific references. And you'll see what I mean. So I'll use this same document. Okay, so I have some reused content here. Here's my reusable component. Let's suppose that this particular action, the remove comment, was missing, and I wanted to add it in text mode. So I just add my DL entry, my con key ref. Notice that it now shows all of my keys that are defined. Obviously, I want to use the same reusable as these ones above it, so I'll find that reusable, and here's the new functionality. Now you see that I have proposals for targets within that document. And these targets are basically all the IDs that are defined in this document. Oops. So I can scroll down and find the specific target, the remove comment, and you'll see that it's now added, and this would be exactly the same as if I added it in author mode using reuse content dialog box. Many of you will probably never use that feature, but those of you who do edit in text mode, it's very helpful. Now we had several users specifically request that we show you this next new feature. It's called Oxygen PDF Chemistry. It's a built-in CSS-based PDF processing engine. For those who are familiar with CSS, this makes it very easy to style and customize the PDF output of your DITA projects without having to work with XSLFO customizations. Note that it is currently in what we call experimental phase. It does come bundled with Oxygen 19, and it's certainly functional, but it's in continual development and the developers are actively improving it based upon constant feedback from the community. So to demonstrate this one, I'm going to use a very small, simple project, this sample project for a list of NASA space videos. I want to use a small project because this requires a transformation, and with our user manual project being so large, it would take a long time to transform. So suppose I was looking at the topics and I decided that I want the titles to be a different color. Well, I can position my cursor inside the title element, right-click, and select Inspect Styles. This opens the CSS Inspector, and I can see how my CSS files are styling my title class. Okay, so I don't want to change the rendering in author mode, I just want to change the output. So I created a very simple CSS, and just like this one specified the font size, my custom CSS is just specifying that I want the color for the title elements to be red. Okay, very simple. So I'll run the transformation scenario and show you what you can do with chemistry. So to use chemistry, you need to select this transformation scenario, the DITA Map PDF WYSIWYG. And I just need to specify a few parameters. First, I need to specify my custom CSS with the args.css parameter. Next, I need to specify to use the chemistry processor using the CSS processor type parameter. I select chemistry. Now note that in future versions there will be an even easier way to specify the chemistry processor. There will be a tab and you can just select it from a drop-down menu. Like I said, they're continually improving this feature. Anyway, I'll click OK, and I'll apply my transformation scenario, and we'll see how my custom CSS changed the output. Okay, so if I scroll down, you now see that the titles are in red. Now this is where chemistry can be so handy. Suppose that I decided that this is way too bright. I think blue would be better. So all I have to do is go back to my CSS, change it. Oh, by the way, I forgot to close my PDF. Save the file and reapply the transformation. It remembered my parameter choices, so I don't need to reset the parameters. I just need to rerun the transformation after changing the CSS, and now you see that it's blue. This was a very simple example, but you can see how quick and easy it is to style the PDF output by simply changing the CSS and then rerunning the transformation scenario until you get the desired result. And those are the new features that we want to show you in this webinar. Thank you for attending, and I'll turn this back over to George for the question and answer segment.
Thank you, Stephen. We were quite busy actually responding to a lot of questions. So feel free to ask additional questions, and I will start to go through some of the questions that you already asked during the presentation. So one question was, when will DITA Open Toolkit 2.5 be included in Oxygen? And as you probably know, we try to update all third-party components that are included in Oxygen with every Oxygen release. So for the next Oxygen release, which is version 19.1, we plan to include DITA OT 2.5, or maybe or more, very likely it will be a newer version actually at that time. We usually have the dot release in September, October as a time frame. Someone asked whether the fast create topics functionality works in a CMS environment when Oxygen is integrated with a CMS. And unfortunately, I do not know the exact details of that implementation. So I asked to have a follow-up on our support channels, maybe on our email or on the forum. So one of my colleagues can reply and to that with more details, you know. Or if you have access to Oxygen in the CMS context, you can try it and you'll see if that works. But I'm expecting also content management systems to provide this kind of functionality, a similar functionality, let's say, with the fast create topics that we have in Oxygen. Can the DITA map be copied to a publication like a web page, Word, or PowerPoint? Well, DITA content is defined by the DITA map, and the DITA map can be converted to HTML, can be converted to Word or PowerPoint using different DITA Open Toolkit plugins or using other conversion tools. There are DITA Open Toolkit plugins to convert DITA maps to web pages, including our web help transformation, the default HTML transformation that comes with the DITA Open Toolkit. And there are plugins to convert DITA Open Toolkit to Word and also PowerPoint. I think the main developer for the DITA Open Toolkit, Jarno Elovirta, created a DITA to Word plugin, and Elliot Kimber, I think, has a DITA to PowerPoint plugin. Now there were quite a number of questions related to converting from one topic type to another. And the interesting part is that functionality is not hard-coded it is built on top of the XML refactoring support that we have in Oxygen, and so there are a number of related questions, most of them basically asking whether that can be adapted to specializations, to custom shells or custom information types that someone developed for their organization. And the answer is, as I mentioned, yes, because those conversions are not hard-coded, so you can build similar conversions, similar support for your own topic types. There was another question related to DITA and XML schema, XSD. There are 3 grammar types for DITA. Starting with DITA 1.3, the normative grammar is relax and G. From that, DTDs and XML schemas are generated automatically, or at least that's the intention to author schemas, DITA schemas in relax and G, and then be able to use to still use DTDs or XML schemas with tools that do not support relax and G directly. However, with the XML schemas, there are known issues, especially with respect to specializations. The support for restrictions and in XML schemas were implemented differently by different processors, so usually people prefer to use DTDs or relax and G rather than XML schema. Okay. Some other questions were related to the automatic updates when you move or rename resources and you define the DITA maps as master files. So one question was, I suppose it only updates the resources in the same map. If I'm reusing, I need the CMS to update the references. And the answer is not necessarily. You can add multiple DITA maps as master files, and Oxygen will update references looking in all resources, topics reachable from those master files. Another question was, how low does the update references go? Down to elements within a file or only at file level? For example, if I have a reference to a step, will that be updated? And the answer is Oxygen will update all references, including maybe if you have a content reference or any reference to that file will be updated. People were, Stephen, maybe you can show again how you can, where the reusable components, DITA reusable components view can be made visible. That was, so basically you go to Window, Show View, and then you have the...
I'll show that again. So maybe I went too fast. So it's from the Window menu, then Show View, DITA Reusable Components. Sometimes I have to get it to refocus to actually populate all the keys, but.
Okay. Another question was related to the content completion in the text mode that shows available IDs from a topic. when you make a content reference. And the question was whether you will see only the IDs that are valid, let's say, for that element that you are edited. So basically, in general, when you conref from a paragraph, for instance, you cannot conref from a paragraph to a table, let's say. And I think I haven't actually. I do not I do not know the exact answer, but I think that we do not do that kind of advanced check to make sure that the class attribute of the target is compatible with the class attribute of the edited element. That's an improvement probably that we can think about. Now we have a couple of questions related to the chemistry engine. Can you make this processor work with HTML5 web pages or an EPUB? And right now, chemistry works as part of the DITA-OT processing, so it's integrated in Oxygen 19 as Stephen presented. You can just choose chemistry as the CSS processor when you transform with that DITA CSS plugin. But we already worked on that, and in our current development, chemistry can be used with any XML and CSS, and probably we'll have also command line option, so you can invoke it from a shell or from a script in starting with the next Oxygen release. So it will work with any XML well-formed document, including XML well-formed XHTML5 or any other XML document.
So George, in regards to that last answer, I suppose that it doesn't. You see that it couldn't expand it as was expected.
Another question was, does the fast create topic work with specialization? And does it work with bookmap, for instance, within a bookmap? And the answer is yes. And as you've seen, you can choose also the topic type, and you can choose that from the available new document templates. So you can create your own topic types, not necessarily a standard DITA topic. But as Stephen mentioned, there are also some planned enhancements to that functionality, and one of them is to allow you to choose easily, to specify actually easily a topic type for each entry. So you can say, okay, this overview maybe is a topic, but installing the Content Fusion Connector add-on is a task, for instance, right? So that's one of the planned updates. And yeah, and you will be able to choose your own from your own document template, so that may be a specialized type of topic. Can you convert calls table to a simple table? So we have a refactoring action. So refactoring actions are the base for converting from between different topic types. And we provide DITA-specific refactoring actions also for converting a simple table to a CALS table. Usually that's, we are thinking, that you start with a simple table and you need maybe to merge some of the cells, so you need a more complex structure. So we provide that as a refactoring action. Of course, you can create your own refactoring actions and deploy them. So similarly to how we have this conversion available, you can define also a conversion from a CALS table to a simple table. But in that case, basically the refactoring action needs to check whether that CALS table has a regular structure that will match the power of a simple table. Can we use the topic conversion tool inside the Oxygen Web Author? Not right now. The Web Author contains and was improved in terms of available functionality, but XML refactoring actions are not yet available in the Web Author. And in general, the Web Author is intended for people that contribute to content, so more casual users that while converting from one topic type to another is quite advanced operation. And if you have a lot of content, the conversion helps, but it's not perfect. So sometimes you need to, after the conversion, you need to do some additional fix-up. So from that perspective, I do not necessarily see this type of conversions fit for the Web Author users. I don't know how to create such refactoring. Can you give me an example or somewhere to look for more information? And we have information in the user guide, and I think we have also a recorded webinar dedicated to XML refactoring actions. So if you go to our website on the events page or on the video resources, you should be able to find a recorded webinar covering XML refactoring actions, which show both the end user perspective and also the developer perspective. So it covers also how you can define and create refactoring actions. Refactoring actions are based on XSLT scripts or xQuery update. So that's the technology that you need to know in order to, or that you can use to create those refactoring actions. We have our content as Word documents, and we are planning to move them to DITA. We want to know the best option to do that using the Oxygen Web Author. Do you know if there are any known limitations? So the Oxygen Web Author contains the smart paste functionality that we have also in the desktop version of Oxygen. And you can basically copy from a Word document or in general from an HTML page or an Office application and paste into the DITA editor. And the Smart Paste functionality will try to convert that to the corresponding target document markup. Again, as this conversion is not hard-coded, it's based on some XSLT scripts that are found within the Oxygen frameworks folder, inside the DITA subfolder, inside resources, I think, or something like that. So you can tune those scripts for better results in case you have a specific type of Word documents. But there is no magic conversion from Word to DITA. You know, there's no such thing. So usually you will need to do some additional fix-up and you mentioned the web author. Well, that's as I mentioned also earlier, we're converting between different topic types. I will recommend doing that maybe in the desktop version of Oxygen rather than in the web author, which is tuned for more casual users and contributors, and not necessarily for hard XML changes, or you know, in the desktop version we have access to additional refactoring actions and so on that you can define and then just trigger for documents based on what you have in a specific document. Another question that I received actually by email before the webinar is that related to customization of the output when you need to change some resources, and we recommend you know, in case you change resources in from the default locations from Oxygen, and you are on Windows, for instance, you need to have write permissions, of course, for those files. So you need to make sure that you have write permissions in order to change files, for instance, which are located in program files or somewhere like that. Another question was related to the Oxygen chemistry engine. It is not very clear whether Prince XML or Antenna House Formatter, which are other engines that can convert to PDF based on CSS. So taking XML as input and the CSS file, they generate PDF. And the question was whether one of those processors is required also when you select chemistry. And the answer is no. Chemistry does not require additional commercial engines. The actual processing that chemistry does is to convert the XML plus CSS to XSLFO, and then to use Apache FOP to generate the PDF. If you go on our events page, you can find the XML Prague entry for this year, and I presented there some of the ideas behind chemistry. So you have a recorded session that highlights the reason for chemistry and let's say how it works, some of the details of how it works. And another question was whether it's a planned webinar for showing DITA to PDF conversions using CSS. And yes, we plan to have a webinar that will cover using CSS to customize PDF conversions, and showing that with the chemistry as a processor. And just quickly mention that we will have new webinars starting with September 6th, where we plan to, the first webinar is scheduled for September 6th, and we plan to cover collaboration between content authors and other members of an organization, like developers maybe, or subject matter experts and so on. We'll be also in the autumn at TC World. We organize again this year DITA Open Toolkit Day just before DITA Europe, and sharing the same location with DITA Europe in Berlin, Germany, at the end of October. After that, we plan to be at LavaCon in Portland, and maybe also the TI members meeting in Canada, in Victoria. So thank you again for your feedback and your questions. Thank you, Stephen, for again a very interesting presentation. We received a lot of good feedback, and if you have additional questions, feel free to use our support email address, or direct them on our Twitter account, or of course we have also our public forum to ask questions. But any support channel is welcome. So thank you. We are, I think, at the end of our webinar, and hope to see you next time. Goodbye.